Hi, I'm Tanya Williams from Digital Conversations, and today in Having Digital Conversations, I am talking to Adrian Juarez, who is Head of Digital Strategy at Credit Union Australia.
Thanks,
Hey,
Tanya.
Adrian.
Hi.
So obviously we're going through a big change in the customer journey these days, particularly in traditional places like banks and so forth. How is digital impacting on that changing consumer journey for you guys?
So for us, it's really about understanding the customer, right? So we've done a fair bit of work now to really understand who our core segment is, what their attitudes, behaviours, expectations in digital are, and vary everything from surveys to understand behaviour to measuring our own data and understanding how people behave. And so really the key for us is to get that deeper understanding of journey, what customers are doing, and then how we continue to evolve our brand and our proposition and our experiences to meet the needs of our customers. I think that's...
Yeah. So do you think being able to sort of tap into that, obviously once you've got that initial research piece and you understand who your audience is a bit more, how does digital fit into that in terms of, do you think that that's allowing you guys to really improve that overall customer experience?
Absolutely. So some rough numbers, but our core segment, 85% of them have said that they choose to at least research all the products and their financial services needs online, right? So so starting there is your front door, making sure that you've got the right information, the right time, right channel to help customers, empower customers to make that decision. As we go deeper, there's a bit of a mix, and depending on products, certain customers are quite happy for, say, deposits and savings accounts to apply online. But when it comes to lending products, and they want to make sure they're getting the right product, the best deal, insurances, all these other considerations, there's still a preference or a segment of customers who want to go to the branch or talk to someone. Or, so,
depending on what that product might be.
Absolutely. So we've mapped across all our products those key journeys against the research that we have to then understand, well, what are the different, say if it's a technology, sometimes technology is not always the answer, right? So what's a customer problem, what's a customer need, making sure you've got the right mix of service capabilities to help customers through that.
And you guys have a lot of different product offerings as well. So
absolutely, yeah. So
that's
a full suite of financial services products.
That goes,
absolutely.
into that, wow.
Oh yeah, 385-page deck that if you ever want to have a read through.
Just 385 pages?
A little bit light reading, yeah, certainly.
So where do you see the biggest growth potential from a digital point of view for you guys?
For us, there's I don't know that there's a single one. It's a combination of everything, and again, I think it comes back down to experience and meeting the needs of the customer. So, I guess customers. One thing we found, digital's definitely brought customers closer to us, right? So we've got 59 branches, supported by a call centre, and digital channels where we've got, on average, about 1.2, 1.3 million logins a month, right? We don't see that sort of traffic through any of our other channels. And I forgot what your question was, so I've got to come back to it.
So where do you see the biggest potential?
So the biggest potential in growth, right? So it's, with 59 distribution footprint for a branch, some of our account openings are still geared towards sending a customer to a branch. You're limiting the amount of customers that you can actually acquire, right? So so from a sales and onboarding perspective, there's a lot of work we can do. When we look at customer penetration, products per customer, again, plenty of work to be done. And essentially, so that starts to play in the data and really understanding, from a data perspective, propensity for customers to want to take on additional products and, looking for twins, I guess. Here's your customer who's got 5 products. What behaviours and spending patterns do they exhibit, and how many other customers do we have in our customer base so that, meet that need, and how do we start having that conversation with the customer about their needs? And again, probably the third flavour is really increasing our self-service and digital service capability. Where it makes sense to do so, though, right? Because there's no point saying we want to replicate everything you can do in a branch online. It doesn't always make sense to do so. Customers have told us they don't want that. Our research tells us they don't want that. But it's having that, again, so having the right mix, essentially, right? So digital is essentially that enabler But you can't just say, let's go all digital, because you're always
For
going
the
to
sake of doing
exclude a
digital,
segment of
exactly,
customers.
exactly.
Absolutely.
And you touched on, I suppose, that data piece as well. You guys, I mean, the thing I love about digital is you can measure everything that you do, and there's
Absolutely.
so much data available. But
Absolutely.
I think sometimes that gets a little bit overwhelming because you have so much data,
Yep.
and then what do you do with it? And then how do you break that down, and what's important, what's not important?
Yeah.
So I imagine that you guys have spending a lot of time looking at all those data pieces when you're doing that research to go, well, how are people navigating our website? You know, what channels are they interacting on more than others? And that's huge in itself. Just for
the
for
granularity
brand,
of what's there is incredible. What we try and do is focus on the problem that we're trying to solve. So, you know, whether it's a complaint, you know, really understand the source of that complaint. Then, so I guess start with the question, not with the data.
Yeah.
Start with the data. You can just go on all these little
all
trails that never end and,
Yeah.
and never come up with an answer because you don't know what you're trying to solve to begin with. So it's that, you know, start with the question or the problem that you're trying to solve. So we really try and start with as much as we can, because I guess you don't want to limit what the data might tell you sometimes, right? But as clearly an articulated problem statement as you can, know what it is you're trying to answer, and then let the data experts essentially who are love
filter
their
through
stuff.
all that.
God love them. Who then filter through all that and come back with some really rich insights.
I imagine you guys do a fair bit of research into what's happening in banking in overseas markets and so forth as well, so you can look towards what's going to be the next big thing, what's happening over there that's likely to filter down here and what's relevant. Have you seen any new technologies or any new things in overseas markets where you go, yep, we can see that as being a real benefit because we think our customers really need that, or we've seen in the research that they're wanting those types of things?
Yeah, so I actually, maybe the cynic in me, but I haven't really seen there to be much that's changed technologically, right? So the technologies that you're seeing come to fruition to bring new experiences to customers, the things that have been around for some time now. It's just the combination and amalgamation and how people are using those varying technologies to, you know, again, to solve a problem or create an opportunity that makes the difference. So I think it's the brains that goes behind the, you know, understanding the puzzle of customer and consumer and trends, and then saying, well, how do we best make use of technology that exists today to bring this to life, or you know, solve a problem or differentiate our experience, and I think that's where the sweet spot is. You know, and interestingly, so if you look at the US, I think adoption in terms of digital and technologies, particularly in the banking sector, and when you look at things like payments and the way of the payments change that's happening in Australia, we've got far greater capabilities. You know, we've got EMV chip cards, right, that allow you to pay at a contactless terminal anywhere. In the US, they're so far behind adopting some of these base technologies that we've got here that enable things like mobile payments and all the other things as well. So
Australia's probably leading the market
I
in some
actually
of
think
these areas.
in many of these areas, the infrastructure and the things that enable that innovation is far greater advance in Australia than what it is in some other markets. But where they're trying to differentiate in those markets, again, is on that experience front. So in banking, you look at things like Simple Move-In, Fidor Bank, I think they're called in Poland, I think it might have been. Same thing, they're applying a customer experience lens and saying, well, what do customers need? How do we help them better understand their money and finances? And you'll notice, though, they rely on banks to partner with to just create a front-end experience that helps differentiate to an extent. So it's not technologies per se that are driving the change. It's, for me, understanding of customer, understanding a problem that you're trying to solve, and then marrying up the right technologies that suit your strategy, right? Because I think at the end of the day, I personally believe you need to run your own race.
Yes.
Right? I always use the Usain Bolt example. His goal is to be number one, and he will be number one in trains, and he's solely focused on number one. He doesn't run a race looking over his shoulder every 2 seconds to see where everyone else is, right? His goal's that finish line, and that's what he's going on. So know your customer, know your strategy, know where you want to get to, aim for that. And that's where I think the differentiation and magic starts to happen.
And that makes sense. I mean, I've seen a lot of research around this branch of the future and what's happening and all that sort of stuff. And I think sometimes people can do it for the sake of doing it because competitor number one is doing it, so therefore we have to do it. And it's that sort of lead-follow mentality. But I know you guys have done some work in some of your branches, because my local branch is all fitted out with some cool signage and lots of interactivity, and obviously there's no big glass walls and those sorts of things happening. And I know you guys are starting to roll that out in a number of your branches. I'm assuming so that's sort of come about through that research and feedback on what customers are actually wanting rather than the sake of let's just do it because everyone else is starting to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And digital integration is a part of everything in the business. It's not about building a standalone channel and you send all your customers to it.
Yeah.
In the earlier days, perhaps, it was about cost savings, efficiency, and how do we increase self-service capability. These days, it's really about empowering customers with choice to be able to move between whichever channels they're comfortable with for whatever conversation, understanding that to begin with so that you can then build the right experience. So you'll see branches like Carindale and some others that have greater digital capabilities and that, I guess a fresher look and feel. Credit unions have always been an alternative to the banks, right? So why did we build branches that look just like a bank back in the day as well, right?
Yeah.
So really starting to understand the value that mutuals bring to banking, the future of banking, and ensuring we stay true to what mutuals represent.
Yeah. So, what has been the customer feedback from some of these changes? Have you found that most people have been embracing what you guys are doing, or have you had some people like, oh, it's different, it's changed, I'm not quite sure about this yet?
I haven't seen any of that negativity.
Yeah.
I think customers are generally embracing what they're most interested in. Generally, is that service experience. Right?
Yeah.
So we've always had that close-knit relationship style with our customers in the branches in particular.
Yeah.
I guess the challenge for us, and I think any other brand in the world of digital, is how you then humanise your digital brand, right? How do you make that same consistent feeling and experience that customers are used to getting through CUA in the branches? How do you bring that same feeling to that digital experience? And they're the things that we're obviously working towards.
Because at the end of the day, it's people-to-people marketing, regardless of obviously there's products and there's services, but you're dealing with people on either end.
Absolutely.
Of the product scope, I suppose, and how digital fits in with what's happening from a traditional point of view and all that sort of stuff is obviously a big puzzle to solve.
Definitely.
In a way, as you said, that makes the customer experience enhanced rather than inhibiting what they actually wanted to do and how they wanted to interact with you.
And that's the right word. So, each channel plays its own part in enhancing the experience in some way.
Yeah. So it has to be about customer engagement and enhancement experience, isn't it? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. How important do you think the offline and online consumer journey is? And I'm assuming there's a strategy to pull those together.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So I guess going back to some of the research that we've done and understanding that we now have of our customers, it's critical, right? As I said, certain products, customers quite happy to either just research online only or completely, acquire the product, if you like, and self-serve and there's always that sliver of customers that may never want to talk to someone unless they really need to. But then there are the customers that really want to know and understand and learn or have questions and prefer that human touch.
It probably comes back again to what that product is. So if it's a bit complex or whatever and it's home line, where they're investing a lot of time and money, they might want to have that interaction, but it's as simple as some, banking and so forth. They can probably just do that to digital channels. So again, we'll change by product, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah. And coming back to, our journey maps and understanding across all our core products, the various touch points we have today, how customers use them today versus how customers tell us they want to use them, as well as some of the future research type stuff to understand, additional trends in the way the world's moving. But again, actually going to an earlier point that you mentioned, it's understanding customer behaviour. Customer behaviour today to what it's going to be in 3 years' time is very different. So,
we've changed just in the last 3 years. What's the next 3 years going to be?
Absolutely. So writing a strategy and having a set out strategy that says this is absolutely what we're going to do is, in my view, is best guess when you're starting to talk 3 and 5 year horizons. It's what are things we absolutely know we need to do now. Let's maintain that flexibility and that continual loop and understanding of customers, measuring things like satisfaction, advocacy, all those things along the way, to know where you're falling short, where you're not meeting expectations, and ensuring that you've got that flexibility to keep chopping and changing as you go.
I think that's a very good word, that word, like flexibility, because as you said, you just don't know what a new thing is coming into the market that's going to impact what that strategy piece might look like in a few years' time. It can look totally different to where we're sitting right now, which is obviously really important.
Absolutely.
So what's next for CUA?
What's next for CUA? We are, there's a lot. There's so many things on, again, probably going back to the customer across all ends of the customer journey. So you consider customer lifecycle, everything from how they hear about us, our products, our services, to how they apply, to how they tell our friends about us, to then how they interact and bank and transact. and the insight that we then feed back to those customers. It's that
Yeah.
full gamut of end-to-end understanding of customer, and basically a lot of test and learn, chipping away at each and every step of these things.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Test and learn. I think so many people think they have to do it right the first time,
Yep.
and that's never going to happen. But I think exactly that, of being able to, let's try it, see what
Yep.
happens, tweak it, and then put it back out, and
Yep.
continually evolve the product as to where we need to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, so we're moving, as an industry, I think, is moving to an agile world. We start talking agile, continuous delivery, minimally viable products and feature sets, getting those things out and evolving those experiences. And historically, something perhaps we haven't done so well, but the programs of work we've got in play at the moment are all about, done is better than perfect. Let's get it out there. Let's
Yes.
get enough
Yeah.
that we can measure. And as you said, you can measure everything in digital and continue to evolve that, right?
Yeah.
So it's there'll be a lot of change. There'll be continuous change. But it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be
Yeah.
in the world that we live in, I think.
I know, right?
Yep.
And that's what I love about digital, is the fact that there are so many new platforms, and you can evolve and change very quickly. And people are, I think, nowadays so used to having lots of different things happening from a digital perspective that they're quite willing to change and evolve, because they know that it's really easy to pick up and learn and so forth.
Yeah,
I mean,
and we can, and the beauty of today is we can absolutely test things with customers, right? So going back to the data
Yeah.
piece, we can choose customers that meet a particular profile, that we can, go out with beta releases of things to gather their feedback, help shape that. But we also include that customer feedback very early in our design process as well.
yeah, which is important. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we start out with what we think we want, or what we think customers want. We've done some website redesign work at the moment, for instance, and we've brought customers into that process every step of the way. So now what we've ended up with, where we thought we would land, to what customers tell us they absolutely want. There's been a few degrees of separation
Of
in
course,
that,
yeah.
but there's been none of the historical challenge that comes with accepting those design differences can be challenged by anyone in the business, because everyone wants the right outcome for a customer, right? So when you've got a customer-led design process, essentially,
Customers always right.
everyone wants customers, and
Yeah.
everyone understands customer, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where you sit in the business, everyone understands the need and
Yeah.
the value of understanding that customer.
Yeah. Wow, exciting times. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of things happening for
Absolutely.
CUA over the next couple of years.
There will be.
I'm looking forward to seeing them
Great.
from the outside, but also as a customer. So I'll be interested to be using some of these new products and services as they get launched. Thank you very much for your time today, Adrian. It's been
Tanya.
very enlightening. I love talking anything digital, but particularly in this sort of space, I think there's been a lot of talk about the changes in banking and how that's going to look over the next few years, and how it's evolving. So it's really exciting to see what you guys are actually going to be doing.
Absolutely, and it'll only continue to evolve, right?
Of course, yeah. Thank you.
It's an ongoing journey.
Yeah, awesome. Great, thank you.
Great, thanks very much.
See you.
Cheers.